You're listening to the Spark Your Light podcast, where my mission is to help you create a life that sparks the light inside of you. And this is episode 293, How to Prevent a Bad Morning from Becoming a Bad Day. This episode is for you if sometimes the morning doesn't go quite perfectly and you feel like that energy can just throw off the rest of your day, but you don't want it to. I had this experience last week. I had one day where it was just such a good day. I had the best morning. I woke up early and Richie and I decided to take Michael for a super early morning walk as soon as he woke up. We brought his breakfast on the go. We gave it to him on his little snack tray on the stroller. We got ourselves coffee and breakfast sandwiches and we were just having such a wonderful morning. We got exercise. We got wonderful conversation, inspiration. We both had so much clarity on various ideas. It was just honestly one of my favorite mornings I've had in a really long time. And that day, I had one of the greatest days I've had in a really long time. I felt so sparked in my life. And I found this really interesting. It's like when we have a lot of good energy bubbling up, it really just overflows to everything. So even though my good day was mostly related to business ideas and my relationship and exercise and these various things, all of a sudden it bubbled over and I had the energy to clean out Michael's closet, which has gotten to become a huge mess. Anyone who has babies or toddlers knows that there's constantly new clothes coming in and out in different sizes. And then all of a sudden one thing doesn't fit, but the rest of the clothes are still that size. So then that's in the closet and then you're getting, all kinds of different things ready for the next season. And it just becomes this crazy mess. And this has been bothering me as it has slowly gotten less and less organized. But I didn't feel that I had the time or the space or the energy to reorganize it. But on that day, I was so excited and energized that as soon as we got back from the walk, I took Michael upstairs. I went in his room with him. I shut the door and I put some toys on the ground and I let him crawl around and play with his toys while I reorganized his entire closet. I felt so good. And that was just the start. I could go on and on about this day. I just did so many things that I have been wanting to do. I had fun. I enjoyed myself. I felt energized. And I'm like, wow, life is so good. And then the next morning was the complete opposite. I woke up really groggy. Do you ever I don't know if it's because you didn't sleep well, but sometimes you just feel groggy. I overslept, which never feels good for me. I try to wake up as early as I can so that I can have as much time to myself before Michael wakes up. But at this point in my life, I can't say I'm going to stick with this forever, but right now I don't set an alarm because I feel like if I'm sleep deprived, then I'm not great at anything. And so I just try to be pretty committed to a relatively early bedtime. That way I know I'll wake up early naturally. But sometimes that doesn't happen for various reasons. So I overslept and I woke up to Michael, hearing Michael via the monitor, kind of making noises in his room. So I'm like, and when you wake up startled and it's quickly get up, get out of bed. It's just not the same feeling as I woke up and it's 5:15 and the sun is shining. It's not the same feeling. So I get up, I go downstairs. I'm trying to make my coffee. And of all days, this is the morning that I decided that I was going to try out pour over coffee for the first time in my life. And it wasn't just I'm going to try it out today, but it was if I want to drink coffee or if Richie wants to drink coffee, because I make his coffee every morning for him. It's one of the nice, lovely things that I choose to do for him that I love to do and he loves to receive. So it's very fun. But long story short, I decided we're going to stop using the Keurig for various reasons, mostly because if you don't know this about me, I'm very into health and I didn't want our coffee running through plastic. The other thing is I've been drinking decaf coffee for, a long time, I guess 2 years. So since I got pregnant with Michael, that's when I stopped drinking caffeine. Yes, you can drink caffeine if you're pregnant, but I wasn't feeling good. I didn't want to drink it, and I just never went back on it. I stayed off it while I was nursing, and so I haven't gone back on it yet because I will probably get pregnant again soon. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to do this cycle all over again. So I'm just going to stick with decaf. And I really enjoy decaf if it's good decaf. But a lot of decaf is not very good. So I found this brand that I love and it's delicious. But I find that a lot of decaf isn't as strong. And so I also thought the pour over coffee would make it like a better flavor for the decaf. So various reasons I was really into this pour over thing. And I timed it perfectly with our other coffee being finished because the grinds for pour over are a little bit different than the grinds for a Keurig. And I buy the coffee at a local coffee shop and they actually like grind the beans for you based on your method of brewing. So I waited until we finished our other coffee and then I had gotten the beans the day before. And so everything was ready. I got the little pour over jar thing and I was going to try it. But as you can imagine, when you are trying something for the first time, when you are groggy and you're tired and you're rushed. So I'm trying to make Richie's coffee before he leaves for work. Now, Richie is a wonderful husband. He would never demand coffee. He comes downstairs so polite and is like, he sees me trying to like fuss with the pour over thing and he can just tell I'm not having a great day just by my mood. He can sense it. And he's like, hey, if you don't have time to make that right now or you don't want to like try to figure that out, I'll just get coffee at work. And I'm like, no, I'm making this right now. I just need you not to talk. And I did figure out the pour over. I was like watching TikTok videos. I actually have figured out my perfect process consistency ratio of like coffee grinds to water. I have the food scale. I was using a package scale. So this is a funny story, but I bought a package scale when I first started my first business back in 2016. So my first idea, if you don't know, were these plates that encouraged balanced eating, which was inspired by my struggle with an eating disorder. And I bought a package scale because I was shipping boxes of plates. So when I first started making my amazing chocolate chip cookies, which I talked about in the last episode, if you didn't hear, I used the package scale because this recipe that I was following talked about how you want to weigh your flour instead of measuring it because it can be so off and that really changes the consistency of the cookies. And it worked. The package scale actually worked fine for flour. But I found with the coffee, it wasn't like getting it exact enough. Like I would put a big scoop in and it wouldn't change. And I'm like, okay, it's clearly a different weight. So that's when I got the food scale. So I have everything to a T. The coffee is great now. But in the moment, it was a total mess. And I just felt, I made the coffee, but it didn't taste right. It was way too strong. And Richie's like, I don't mind. He's so sweet. But it was not good. I could barely drink mine. And I was just like, man. And keep in mind, Michael has already woken up. He's starting to like make some noises in his crib. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not a good day. And, the immediate thought is like, it's just not going to be a good day. And I'll try again tomorrow because I want today to be like yesterday, especially if you've had a good day that you can compare it to. And it's just not going like that day. We naturally want to compare. But I thought to myself, well, I can just let it be a crappy day or I can try to change it. Doesn't mean I'm definitely going to change it, right? Like we can try all we want and maybe we're just not feeling great. Maybe we just don't have a lot of energy. There's so many factors, right? But I thought to myself, well, I have nothing to lose by trying to shift this energy, trying to change this day. So I'm going to try. And as Richie was leaving, he was like, what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm going to take a couple minutes myself before I get Michael up and I'm going to try to shift this energy. And that's what I did. So today I want to talk about my steps for turning a bad morning into not a bad day. So maybe an average day, maybe a good day, maybe a great day. I don't know. Every day is going to be different. And like I said, it's going to be based on so many factors. But I can promise that if you try these things, it's not going to be as bad as it was going to be if you just let it get worse and worse and worse and ride that energy. So the first step is just to recognize and accept. We don't want to fight. We just want to accept what is. Today is not a great morning. That's okay. The second step is to ask yourself what you can do to shake that energy. So for me, I know that I just need a little bit of time to myself in the morning. And I looked at the monitor. Michael was playing in his crib. He likes to like play with his hands, jump up and down. He has this giraffe. It's like a life-size giraffe. Maybe some of you have seen them. They're made by Melissa and Doug. It was a wonderful baby shower gift. It's right next to his crib. So he'll like somehow get his arm through the crib and pull the tail of the giraffe inside the crib and start like playing with it. I didn't realize this was happening until one day I went in his crib and there were all these like black, like dark black, like darker than my hair. I mean, my hair is like pretty dark, but no, black. Really, really teeny, like probably this big hairs all over his crib. And I'm like, it almost looked like a man's beard or something. I'm like, what is going on? And then I realized it was the giraffe tail that I guess he was like pulling off. And so once we realized that, we started catching him on the monitor, like when he would wake up, like pulling the tail in and playing with the giraffe and knocking it over. So he has a great time in there for probably about 30 minutes after he wakes up, which is wonderful for mom. So I'm like, you know what? I probably have like 15 more minutes. I'm going to take that time to myself. And I sat down with my journal. I wrote down some goals. I wrote down my intentions for the day, what I planned on doing. And I just started to slowly let go of some of that negative energy. I sipped my very, very caffeinated, very, very dark tasting coffee, but I still enjoyed it. I was like, you know what? This coffee's really strong. It'll be better tomorrow. Try again. But right now I have 10 minutes of peace and a hot drink. And I just was like, I don't have to feel like $1,000,000. I think that's the key here. You don't need to feel like you need to shift your energy in an instant. This is something that I learned from Abraham Hicks. Many wonderful books, if you haven't ever checked them out, on the law of attraction. And in one of their books, there's a concept called, trying to think of the name of it. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the actual name. Sorry, I got it. Emotional guidance scale. And so it's a scale of emotions from really high level positive emotions to really low level negative emotions. And it just kind of names different emotions so you can understand that there are certain negative emotions that are actually like more painful and more negative than others. So despair is worse than anger. And then the same with the positive ones. There are certain positive emotions that are like more positive than others. So joy is, higher on the scale than maybe excitement. So it just helps you better understand and identify emotions. But one of the teachings that goes along with that scale is that it's really difficult to skip steps and go from despair to neutral or despair to joy. But it's actually a lot easier and doable for people to just slowly climb one step at a time. So maybe you start at despair and then you go into maybe another negative emotion like jealousy or rage or something. And then maybe you go to anger, which is a little better. And then maybe from anger, you go to bored, and then you go to neutral, and then you go to curious, right? And you just slowly climb up that scale. And you can Google the scale and actually read the emotions on there to get a better idea. But that kind of gives you an example. And in this context, that's what I did. I didn't tell myself that I need to be extremely joyful, but more so that all I need to do is just reach for something that's going to make me feel a little better and just start there. So that's what I did. I started to just feel a little better. And then the third step I took was I just kind of made a decision that I was leaving all of this wrong side of the bed energy in the morning. So there were a lot of things that I maybe wanted to do. Like, it's like when something doesn't go your way, oftentimes we have like a list now. It's like, I always have this. I don't know about anyone else, but it's like a to-do list that's carrying over. And certain things, maybe there are things you just have to do. Like maybe one of the things on your to-do list is you need to send in some information to your accountant for your taxes. And if you don't do it today, you got to do it tomorrow. Totally. But for me, I carry over things that don't need to be carried over. This is a bad habit. So for example, because my morning didn't start like I wanted it to, I maybe would have carried over. I still have to read today because I read every morning, a page or two minimum in my morning routine. And because I didn't do it now, then I have to, when Michael goes down for his first nap, I have to start by reading, even though it's not the most aligned thing to do. And I think on that particular day, I think I decided to exercise. I was like, I just need to move my body and get some endorphins. And that's what I did. But I just decided to close that book and leave all of that negative energy and all of this. I didn't do this and I didn't do this. I decided to leave it in that morning. I didn't carry it with me through my day. And that's not just an emotional thing, but that's a physical thing. Like I didn't make myself need to do those to-dos later in the day. I could just skip them for that day, right? And nothing, the world wasn't going to end. And that actually felt really good to me. Now, for someone else, maybe holding yourself accountable to those things in your morning routine is the best thing you could do for yourself. So this is not about that. It's about answering the question, how can I leave this wrong side of the bed energy in my morning? So whatever you need to do that, do it. Make time for it. And the other thing I want to say here that I think is really important is you may not have all the time in the world to do your ideal thing to shake that energy. I mean, if I had a babysitter at that moment, I would have went to a SoulCycle class, and then I would have went to Starbucks, and I would have brought my laptop and my journal, and I would have journaled, and I would have worked after that, and I would have really shaked the energy. But I had 15 minutes. And so I took what I had, I took what was in front of me and the circumstances that I had, and I made the most of them. And that's ultimately what you need to do. And it's that simple. It's not rocket science. It's really intentionality. And it's shaking it off. And you know what? My day got a lot better. Was it better than the day before? No. That day I was really on a high. But was it a good day? I have to say, looking back, I had a good day. At least it wasn't a bad day. I can't even say it stands out anymore. Like now that it was a week ago, I don't even particularly remember much other than the morning. Isn't that interesting how our brain will really like encode these bad moments more than it will encode the good ones? Or maybe it only remembers like really good and really bad. I don't know. I don't know the brain science behind that, but I can tell you that I really remember the good day and I really remember the bad morning, and everything else kind of seems like a blur. So I know it got better. I know that. I know I, at the end of the day, wrote down that I wanted to record this podcast episode. I thought, you know what? We all just need that reminder. This is not rocket science. This is not the first time you've heard this, but we all have bad mornings sometimes, and it's just a great reminder. So I hope this episode reminds you, whether you chose to listen maybe while you're having a bad morning, maybe this is your pick-me-up, that you get to choose. You get to choose. Remember, your thoughts create your feelings. So if you don't like the way that train is going, you can change the direction. And that is so freeing. So I hope you find some peace in that. I hope you choose joy today. I hope you are willing to let go of things that aren't serving you, because it makes all the difference in the world. This is your one life to live. You might as well not spend it grumpy because you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Spark Your Light podcast. And by the way, I know the show is always growing. We always have new listeners. If you're new here and you love the show, we'd be super grateful for a review. It helps us continue to grow and reach more people. Thanks so much for listening, and I will catch you in the next episode.